Oh dear, my camera's not on. I wonder what gives. Doo, 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 doo. I didn't even notice that my camera wasn't talking to me. Let's try unplugging. Goodness. Cables are such a pain. Oh, I guess it doesn't like that camera. That's okay. We'll just use the FaceTime camera. There we go. Hello. Hello. I have to look at the green dot today. And let's flip over to the main screen and get that camera fixed up right now too. Here's that. Cool. All right, I think I've got my stuff together. It's Monday, January 13th, and I am Rob, thatDeveloperDad, and we're doing stuff with .NET and C# and some other things. I've started working through some API stuff, and I think it's almost time for me to sort out what happens when an event arrives from LemonSqueezy. So let's go to the main screen again. Now I've got all this extra data on here that I don't think I want to burden, excuse me, I don't want to burden the thing, the webhook, with having to parse all of this stuff out. And as a matter of fact, I think I just want to pass the event JSON. And perhaps the request ID. Not static. String. Request ID equals string.empty. Okay. So, save. And I think on the minimal API, you got to come up here. Public models, we just modified inbound LS event. Cool, payload extensions, that's all fine. Endpoint extensions, build detail from event data. Okay. Profile ID equals customer identity. That's right, we had started working through this stuff. And we're gonna come back to this in a minute, because we have to build up a subscription action detail. But I want to get the actual endpoint sorted out here. Now, this is process store event, good. We're expecting an inbound LS event, the HTTP context. We're going to return that. Yeah. Good, okay. Build detail from event data, pass the event. Groovy. So over in the Azure Function, and I've created a second project to hold all of my Azure functions, and we're going to be able to host these things independently and all that good stuff. I'm not sure about running it locally yet. We're going to figure that out. But there are some free online utilities that I use to capture the actual call. And then forward it down the local host while I process it. So last week offline, I figured out how to capture the inbound webhook, validate its request, And let's see. All right. So I think what I want to do first is not sign into my Microsoft account, but, well, I guess so. Let's go. And it wants me to use my authenticator. Just a second. All of this just to ask Bing a question. That's rather burdensome, isn't it? Here we go. All right. Let's pull this over. Hello and good morning. I hope your weekend was good. I'm working through building some receivers for Webhooks. Calls. Let's spell it right. I'd like to review the HTTP 200 series of status codes so that I can choose the most appropriate to use when a webhook call has been authenticated and forwarded to its processor. I always like to be polite to LLMs. So 200 okay, that's generic, most general. Question's been fulfilled and a new resource has been created. 202 accepted. Okay, I might use 202. 204 no content. Not returning any content. Reset the document view. Partial content. So 200 or 202. Let's see if there's anything in the LemonSqueezy API documentation about this. Create a checkout. Webhooks. I don't really want this stuff. Create a webhook. That's all UI stuff. Getting started requests. What HTTP response code should I send when a webhook is called by you and I've successfully forwarded it to be processed? LemonSqueezy has an AI type chatbot thing. Should return a 200 response. Okay. If I return any other status, okay. Your database or cache, even if only temporarily. Yep, that's my plan. All right. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, cool. So 200 it is. Boop. So in an okay case, we're groovy. X, Control V. If signer correct is true, else and it's an iAction result. Result equals null. I'm going to return the result. Boop. Result equals new, not authorized. Result. Going to do some undos here because I screwed up. New dot unauthorized result. Nope. There we go. Now I can return my result. And I'm going to grab this. Just paste that up here. We'll get rid of all of this stuff and just say OK result. And get rid of that string content that we're adding. Hey, what's up, Mars? I am doing stuff. I'm preparing to integrate my webhook calls with my API and the backend systems. Now down here, I can just return the result. Now, I need to get, that's the raw body. Rec.body, that's a stream, that's a string. I think I want to see what this stuff looks like. But it could well be that ls event, what's it called? Inbound ls event. Rather than add a reference to my API project, oh, right on. Yeah, I've tried to get Olama to work for me, and I've had a cow of a time making it go. But as you can see, I'm running a Mac, so it may be a little different for a Mac. I'm using oh gosh, what's it called? LM Studio when I want to be excuse me, when I want to do local LM stuff. Is Olama still just single threaded, so you can only make one model request at a time, or have they multi-threaded it yet? All right. This is in my functions, properties, new file, no, new folder, API, models, new file, class, API, event, data, no, ls, event, data, there we go. Now this ls event data needs to look exactly like this. There we go. And we're going to make it internal. Copy, paste, save, and we're going to come back over to onStore action, ls event data equals new ls event data, and event JSON is raw body, rec dot, the request ID is route value scheme form. Oh, nice. Very cool. I might have to give the give that another tire kick at some point. Let's see if it's in HTTP context, because I know that every rec dot the trace identifier. Yeah, that's it. And unfortunately, Twitch has greeked out your posted URL. All right, now. Okay, handy. Can you just type the creator's username for me? Because I didn't get the URL got thwapped out by automatic moderation for me. All right, Matt Williams. Okay, oh, that name rings a bell. I'm not sure why. Okay, so I need to make a HTTP an API call and host.json logging app insights. Ugh, I don't want to use app insights yet. Enable live metrics filters. False. False. We'll just roll with that. Okay, logging. And let's see, settings. Local settings, functions, worker runtime, .NET isolated, comma, settings, admin API, base URL, and that's not the correct address. I'll get that in a second. Save, save, run HTTP trigger, blah, 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 blah. HTTP client, private, read only, HTTP client is that. Equals that. Got to come down here, add that to the program. We've got the HTTP client right here. Beautiful. Matt Williams, Techno-Evangelist. I will look that up later. Excuse me. And oh gosh, string API endpoint path equals not hook. It might be hooks. I could be wrong. It is definitely hooks slash process store event. Oh, got that right. String request URL equals I don't love that. I'm just going to close this without any. Don't. Program, that's the console app. Checkout request, we can close that. New checkout data, we can close that. Save. On store action. Figure functions, web app, add logging, add HTTP client. Builder dot configuration. I guess we're going to need to add app settings and environment variables. File app settings.json. And let's make it with a lowercase s. Oh, come on, Rob. Not global. How about just a custom file without? Do that. Here we go. And let's add another file. Just a custom file. App settings dot development dot JSON. Is that? Oh, what the devil? It's got to go out here. Yes, move it. All right. There's that. Save. Get lost. Gosh. Go away. Now I got to come up to, if this is going to work, come up here and local.settings.json, preserve newest, copy to publish directory, never. And I need to add v, copy to output directory, and it's got to be app settings. I could be doing this completely wrong for Azure Functions. App settings dot development dot JSON, preserve newest, copy to publish directory, never. Groovy. Save that. And I'm going to pop up here. And I'm going to grab the first few nodes from up here. Bounce down here. Paste. And close. Save. Copy. Paste. Groovy. Comma. Admin API. URL. And I'm going to do this as a configuration node. Base URL is HTTPS something. And that's all we're going to do for now in there. And start a new instance of that SaaS API. Because I want to get the local URL for this. Blah, 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 doing all the things. Do-do-do-do-do. Doodle-do-do-do. Bootlogger created. Where is the URL? Where are you? Here it is. HTTP localhost 5083. Copy that. Turn that off. V. Let's grab this. Copy that. Pop in here. Paste it here. There we go. Save. Come in here. We're going to add another JSON file. Dot development. Did I spell it right? I sure did. Now, here's a little something that I learned about builder.configuration.add source about a year or so ago. When you have multiple configuration sources, the priority or later sources in the list will overwrite the settings that are set up by earlier sources. So we can have base settings out here in appsettings.json. For local development, if it exists, we can override some of those settings. So what that means is we can do in here, API key, haha, not keeping that here in source control. All right. And then we can, in our development app settings, so we can always have just some sort of garbage phrase here. In the developer version, we can put the real one here as long as it's this file is not in source control. And to make sure that happens, I'm going to come over here and we are going to add that to our get ignore right frickin' now. Save. Which get ignore is this? Whatever. There's multiples. Okay, so we can get rid of this for now. What I will do is go lol nope. And I'm not even going to have that key in here. Because Jiminy Cricket. There's a neighborhood cat outside, and one of our cats is really, really, really territorial, and she's losing her mind. And then finally, we can put the actual keys in the environment variables, or if I were using Key Vault or whatever, I could have my final overrides through add Key Vault with whatever keys are necessary in there. So we've got that up here in on-store action. I'm probably going to need to add some configuration stuff. So private, read only, I configuration. I'm just going to do this the lazy way for now, rather than build out a whole options class and all that stuff. I configuration, config. And we'll just config equals config. Great. And let's come out here and make sure admin API base URL, good deal, on store action, signer correct. Let's pull this down. If signer correct is true, ls event data equals that stuff. Do this. And I'm going to add a private HTTP client. Create API client with the endpoint path. Excuse me. String base URL equals config admin API base URL we got to throw if the base URL is null, and I don't know if that's the correct way to walk a path. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and I'm going to grab this. And we'll go out here to Edge. When reading a hierarchical app settings.json in .NET Core, can I drill through the JSON nodes somehow in a single lookup? For example, given this section, can I read the base URL value as config admin API base URL? Normally I just get the section and then plumb in, but if I can do it as sort of a notated path, that'd be great. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Looks like I did it right. I wanted to make sure. And client equals dot, oh, yeah. is there my HTTP client factory factories everywhere. All right. Create client admin API. Groovy. And we need to pass client equals client.base address equals new URI base URL. Cool. And finally, return client. Client API client equals endpoint path. I'm not really going to do anything with that endpoint path. All I'm doing is wrapping the HTTP client factory with this stuff. String URL equals that. And var API response equals await API client post as JSON async. Boop. There we go. And we're going to wrap this whole shebang, this whole bloody thing. Try. Catch. Exception E. And start here. Spin down here. Cut. Paste. And we got to come up here. Push that stuff in. Logger.log error. Result equals new server internal server error response. What are you complaining about? What are you complaining about? Golly. Go to the definition on this. MVC, unauthorized result, default status code result. Okay, so it inherits your status code result. Okay. New status code result. Status codes dot 500. Status 500 internal server error. There, that'll have to do. You bonehead. Jiminy Christmas. New unauthorized result. Sometimes you run into little inconsistencies in when using .NET, and it can be annoying. Annoying is a mighty fine word for that. So post is JSON async. Get rid of that. Status codes dot internal server error. We are going to logger.log error. Message 1. Pop down here. API response dot reason phrase save. Or is there a message? Nope, looks like just reason phrase. Save. All right. And that'll be enough to step through when we get to that point. At some point between now and this afternoon's stream, I need to review how to get this function into local debug mode while also running the API. And then I should be able to get things running and actually capture the incoming request, validate the sender, build out this event data, pass it off to my backend API, where once I've seen that it's arriving properly, I can start dissecting it into the values that I need to pass to the use case managers. So yeah, it's been a little clumsy this morning, but I took a few days off and my brain isn't quite reset from that time off yet. So until this afternoon, take care of yourselves, happy coding, all that stuff, and we'll carry on when I return at 1 p.m. Eastern. So take care, everybody.